What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 10X Recruiting brought to you by Metaview. I'm Nolan, your co-host. I got Siadhal, the CEO of Metaview here. Siadhal, we talked to Arthur Matuszewski. What was your takeaways from this episode?
First of all, takeaway was so glad we got him on the pod. Awesome thinker, like amazing journey. The thing that really resonated, and you just don't hear almost at all, I think, in other recruiting conversations, is this bias towards avoiding false negatives in hiring, more so than necessarily getting every hire right. I think, frankly, every conversation I'm in with recruiting leaders at the moment, there's a lot of talk about either efficiency or it's about quality of hire. And it was like a bit of a mind shift to think, well, no, there's a third way or a second way, which is don't worry about quality of hire. Just like make sure you expose yourselves to the potential of greatness. If you get it wrong, fire them quickly. I'm not saying it's like definitely the way to go, but I think it's definitely something to think about. If you can build that muscle, and maybe if you can even build a culture where it's really obvious to anyone applying to a company that that's the way that they operate, and you're going to get a chance. It's going to be totally fair. If you don't hit the ground running, you're going to be out. You'll get the right people applying for your company if you make it very clear that's the way. So anyway, I thought that was like an amazing thought. Don't fetishize so much getting the hire right when you have such little information. The reality is when you make an offer to someone, you're never going to have less information about that person than you do at that point. You're only going to get more information after they join you.
I'm totally with you, by the way. Like, I'd never heard anybody describe it like that. It has completely reshifted the way I'm even thinking about talent as I'm doing recruiting right now. So I love that one. Mine is the only thing that matters is the value you create. So I think we're exiting this era right now to where people are pointing to titles or companies that they worked at. Like, none of that stuff matters anymore. The only thing that matters is value creation. And I think actually it's up to everybody in the interview process to prove how you can do that. You and I talk about AI a lot. And one of my takes with AI is like, don't worry about candidates cheating. Instead, worry about like, what can you learn from this candidate to apply to your organization? And so I think we're moving towards this world to where all that matters is value creation. And you're going to have to prove that from the time that you're a candidate all the way through the time that you're an employee.
Yeah, super interesting. I do think there's a world where you could be more of a passenger in a company, still be quite high potential, have seen what amazing looked like, and now looking for your opportunity to like do it and execute. I think there is something to be said for like having been surrounded by elite performance means it might be worth taking a bet on that person in some cases. So I don't know if it'll be like super like crystal clear, like just focus on purely what they've actually done. Maybe there's some other things that will factor in as well.
Yeah, I'm aligned with you. I think the thing that Arthur and I were talking about is like these halo resumes, right? These halo companies to where it's like, I worked here, so like I've checked the box and now I'm good. That shit doesn't matter anymore.
But that's because those institutions have also faltered, right? There's like the canonical like FANG companies. We all know that they've laid off a bunch of people because we think they, at least internally, the feeling was that they had gotten fat and they had a load of people who weren't doing any work. And frankly, you hear about recruiters joining Meta or something, and like it's okay not to hire anyone for this first 6 months. I think people know that now. I think that could just as much be a reflection of the institutions, those large companies and educational institutions maybe having screwed the pooch a little bit, and they might fix that, and then we will really respect that again in future. So yeah, I don't know how much of that is actually associated with like a changing time versus just like a very temporary, well, this other thing happened over here.
Totally. Do you have any other takeaways?
I do, but the false negative was the big one. And I think just maybe one thing to just stress on that, just because the language is not like this false negative, false positive language is not something people use every day. And you didn't go super deep in it during the pod. Just to be super clear, most people when they're hiring, they try and avoid a false positive. A false positive is when you falsely give someone a yes. They didn't deserve a yes because they're not a good fit for your company. You give them a yes. What Arthur describes is he likes to avoid false negatives. He hates the idea of someone amazing being in his pipeline and him not giving them a yes. That's the thing he's trying to avoid above all else, is a scenario where someone who was good didn't get the opportunity to join the company and have this outsized impact on their company.
All right. I've been podcasting for 2 years or so now. This is one of my favorite conversations I've ever had. The amount of depth here is unparalleled. So I'm excited for you guys to enjoy this conversation with Arthur Matuszewski.